Hello, and welcome to the 32nd episode of the Hofcast. We got a really excellent episode tonight. Before we get into our guests, we have Scott Callahan with us. Before that, I want to thank everybody for the fundraiser that I ran the last month or so. We were able to raise $3,200 for kids, and we purchased 164 gift cards, and it had 4 separate donated outside of that. So we were able to hand out 168 gift cards to kids around Walmart's, Dollar Generals, Dollar Trees, stores where we could actually go face to face and hand these out to kids. So I want to thank everybody who took part in that. Taylor and Karen Dolson helped me hand those out as well. So thanks to those guys. Jackson, Lady Bears, did up all the envelopes, which saved me a ton of time, and everything was great with that. So thank everybody again. But let's get right into our guest, and our only guest, Scott. I was just telling you, you're really, really humble, so you're probably not going to agree with this at all. But there's so much wisdom that you have. You are going to be the only coach guest today. We will get to our player of the week later in the show, but as far as coaches, you're it for me tonight. So you're gonna make or break this episode, buddy.
That's a lot of pressure, Rich. But I'm ready.
Our how was your Christmas? How's everything going?
Oh, we had a good Christmas. You spent it with my family, my immediate family. The rest of our family is out of town, and with basketball responsibilities for my family, we just stayed here in Wadsworth where I live, and it was a good time. It was a good time.
Absolutely. You used to also coach at Wadsworth. I'm not even going to try to guess what years that went, but you, if I remember correctly, you won a state championship at Wadsworth. Is that right?
Well, no, that was before me. That was Todd Osborne, who won a state championship before me. During that time, I was in the boys program. And then when Todd Osborne left Wadsworth and became an administrator, I was the head girls coach at Wadsworth from 2000 to 2005. And we had some great teams and a lot of success. But during my tenure, we did not win a state title. But obviously, I've been a teacher at Wadsworth. I'm in my 31st year. I've been the head girls coach and the head boys coach at Wadsworth. I'm actually back at Wadsworth coaching right now as an assistant on the boys team. My youngest son is a junior on the boys team, and the head coach, a guy by the name of Mike Mosier, is one of my former players.
Okay.
So with my son playing in the program and one of my favorite former players, Mike asked me to come back and coach with him. So it's just a great situation. Mike's an awesome guy. He's doing a great job with the program. I'm super proud of him. And I get to spend time in the gym with my son, my youngest son. So that's a really, really cool time in my life.
My guess is you probably do plenty of that even outside of the coaching time. I've seen that kid play. He's an excellent player. So that doesn't come without a lot of gym time. Let's get into that a little bit. I'm very interested in how you approach, you are as assistant coach, but you're not the boss man. You're not the one making the ultimate decisions necessarily. You also had several years where you were just a parent. How do you handle that? Not going too far overboard as a coach and still maintaining that, powerful connection as a father. For you, how's that? How can you just kind of walk us through that?
Well, first of all, it's not easy. But getting to coach my youngest son, we have 2 boys, my wife and I. I've been married to my wife, Marquisa, for 25 years. And the only thing I'll say about her is she's the perfect coach's wife. She encourages me to coach. She allows me to coach. And she does a fantastic job of running our household, because since the time we've met and since the time we've had children, I've been coaching basketball.
Yeah.
My older son did not play basketball. He was a runner and he was a tennis player. And now he's in college going a different path. But my younger son is a basketball player. And, I've coached him in travel basketball since he was in third grade. I did not coach him in seventh and eighth or ninth grade, but last year as a sophomore and this year, his junior year, I am an assistant in the program where he's playing. But what I tell him on a daily basis is that, I love him unconditionally and I love him endlessly, regardless of what type of basketball player he is. But when it comes to basketball, we've always had a plan. And that plan has been based upon, hard work and fundamentals and respect of the game.
Yeah.
And, as far as my role on the staff right now at Wadsworth, the head coach kind of lets me be the offensive coordinator. And I really enjoy that role. And I enjoy teaching the game. As far as specifically as far as my son is concerned, I'm tough on him. I'm demanding. But when we get to practice or we get to a game, he calls me coach. And I don't look at him as my son. I look at him as a player who I get to coach. And that might sound a little bit trite and unrealistic, but I'm demanding and tough on all of our players, but I love them. And we have a lot of fun together. So, I look at it as a blessing. I think I have a lot to offer my own son as a basketball player. So because he loves the game, I really push him to help him reach his potential.
You brought up, I want to ask a couple questions before we get on to something else, but I want to come back to being tough on players because I think that's something that's been brought up in the podcast a few times in the past. But a couple things even before that, like a lot of kids, they hear from their parents, they're constantly, oh, you got to do better, or you're not shooting well, or whatever it is. We all hear, what their kids hearing from their parents on the car ride home, as far as how the coaching and how their playing time. What advice would you have for parents that maybe don't get to see how these kids are affected by how the communication from their parents, the way that you might?
Well, that's such a good question, Rich. I mean, I know for my own children, whether it's in school, in sports, whatever, I think it's about trust and security. I mean, like my kids need to know, and I'll use my son who plays basketball as an example. He needs to know that our relationship is secure, whether he scores 30 points or he scores 3 points.
Yeah.
Because that's not what our relationship is based upon. And I'm not living my life vicariously through my children's athletic or academic endeavors. That's just not where I am as a parent. And honestly, I think 99% of parents that I deal with as a teacher or as a coach are 100% well-intended. They really are. Honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with pride. The comments that I hear from parents sometimes towards their children, they're not mean-spirited. They have tremendous pride in their children. They know they've seen their children at their very best, and they know what they're capable of. And most parents know how to get the best out of their children. And a lot of times we teachers and coaches don't know that as well as the parent. And that can create some dissonance and that can create some conflict a little bit. But You know, to answer your question more directly, you know, on the way home, I oftentimes I don't ride home with my son.
Mm-hmm.
My son rides home with his mom,
Yeah.
my wife, or a friend. And I like to give my son at least 24 hours, especially after a difficult game,
Mm-hmm.
win or lose, good moments or not so good moments. And
Yeah.
then what I like to do with my son is I like to watch the game. You know, when live action is based upon emotion, as a parent, as a player, and certainly as a coach. And
Yeah.
I know I make so many mistakes as a coach because I'm trusting my eyes in the heat of a game. And I always go back to so many football coaches, and I learned so much from good high school, college, and professional football coaches. They never want to comment until they've seen the tape
Yeah.
because the film doesn't lie. And I think, you know, for my relationship with my son, one of the ways I can really teach him and understand him more is just to sit down and rewatch the game with him.
Yeah.
Now, I know some parents don't have the time for that. Maybe they don't have the basketball acumen for that. But I just think time is a great healer, and time provides an awesome perspective. Um, and I think the immediate moments after a game so often are laced with emotion that can lead to temper,
Yeah.
can lead to argument. And so I just think after a game, it's so good for me as a parent just to hug my kid, let him know, hey, I love you. And then a day later or so, if we want to talk about it, I want to show him things. He wants to bring up things. He wants to explain things. It works a lot better.
Yeah. I'm literally I've gotten 5 or 6 texts since this show started saying how excited they are to watch you on the podcast. So I you're already off to a great start.
Well, I don't know about that, but thank you. Thank you.
Um,
I'm honored to be here, Rich.
the other question I had, because you are experiencing this right now with your son. Again, like I said, I've seen the kid play. I've seen him on highlight films, and he's tremendous. You know, but unfortunately, at least in my mind, we're kind of going towards a generation where it's all about social media and it's all about hype. And you know, a lot of good basketball players, at least again in my mind, don't reach their potential because they sit on these highlights and what they're doing so great for so long that they ignore what their weaknesses are, what they can get better at. How do you and your son Solomon approach that? Because I've seen some really solid highlight tapes. I just seen one like maybe yesterday actually, where he was just killing it. You know, how do you keep, especially a young, I'm guessing he's 16 or 17-year-old kid, focused like, hey, you're doing great, but this is where we need to keep improving, and don't rest on your laurels because you got a really nice highlight reel.
Well, I mean, I'm probably 180 degrees opposite of what you're describing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what I have to watch with my own children, and I always have, is being too critical and not celebrating the good things that they do and
Mm-hmm.
wanting too much, I guess, perfection from them.
Yeah.
Specifically with my son Solomon, um, you know, he's a good high school basketball player. Um, he's going to be a scholarship player. Um, but I that's because of number one, he's got an unbelievable heart. His mom has done a great job of raising him. He's a 4.0 student. He's president of his class. He's a character kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, as far as basketball is concerned, you know, I'm constantly telling him what he needs to work on in order to reach his potential.
Yeah.
He has a lot of limitations. He's 6'1", he's not 6'5". He's athletic, but he's not hyper athletic. So when I say my son's going to be a scholarship player, I know realistically my son's going to be a really good Division II college player, or he's going to fit into the right low to mid-major Division I level. Okay. So number one, we don't have unrealistic expectations. And when it comes to college, the most important thing for my son is the right academic and spiritual environment. And then the culture of the basketball program, and then setting him up for his next 4 years of his life.
Yeah.
So number one, we're not unrealistic. Okay. And as far as like social media and things like that, my oldest son doesn't even have a social media account. He's 20 years old. It's his birthday today. He's celebrating his birthday today. He doesn't even have social media. Now, my younger son, Solomon, has social media, but it's because it's a necessary evil for him.
Yeah. Me too.
And as far as things like hype and things like that, well, I tell my son, there's 100 guards. He's a point guard. There's 100 point guards in Ohio that are just as good or better than him.
Mm-hmm.
The difference has got to be his work ethic and his skill development on a daily basis, and his attitude, his behavior off the court. My wife and I monitor every single thing that he puts on social media. We've talked extensively about how he needs to post things, who he's allowed to follow, what he can like, what he can't like. My wife is in business, specifically, she's in HR. She hires people.
Yeah.
She talks to our children all the time about people she can't hire because of their social media accounts.
Yeah.
And I don't want my son or any kid I teach or coach not to get an opportunity because he or she is sharing things that should be private and making them public.
Yeah.
I give this sermon almost every day in class, Rich. The thing that boggles my mind about today's generation, and it's not just teenagers, it's old people like me. This idea that everything they do, they need to share with the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's, and I'm not trying to sound melodramatic when I say this, but I think it's a sickness. And I always tell the kids I teach and coach, and then my own children, when we were 16, 17, 18 years old, we did a lot of dumb, stupid things.
Yeah.
We just did them in private.
Mm-hmm.
Now, kids want to do dumb, stupid things, but then they want to share them with everybody to see.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's just a sad reality that we're in right now. I know and I'm not trying to be old man, get off my lawn when I say these things, but I want my children, I want the kids I teach and coach to be protected. And I want them to share the most meaningful things in their life with only the most meaningful people in their lives, with the true family and friends. So I know I'm going on a filibuster here, but getting back to like social media and my own children and things like that, in our family, we believe in privacy, and the things that you're going to share in public, show the very best of yourself. So you're representing yourself with class.
I mean, a lot of stuff that you said, I absolutely agree with. I watched, I don't know if you've ever seen it on Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma.
Sure. Yeah.
And it kind of traumatized me for a little bit. I think I took like a week off of Twitter just because of that show. And I wish there was another way to communicate with, a large mass of people, because obviously I'm not the best Twitter person in the world. So I get it. And I wish it wasn't so necessary, but my 12-year-old niece actually posted a picture on Instagram with her middle finger up the other day. And I got on her about it. And any kid that has ever played for me can attest to that too. So we're on the same page when it comes to that. That's for sure. You mentioned more than once already about skill set and how important it is, and with your own son, and even being prepared for college. A lot of skill now involves unnecessary dribbling, over fancying things. From your experience in coaching, and you've coached several kids that played at the next level, what are some of those undervalued skills that aren't being taught as much now that are very important for kids to be successful, not only high school, but at the next level?
Well, going back to my own son, from the time he was probably, I don't know, 5, 6 years old, our rule was we're going to handle the ball for 30 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
And, we never shot on a hoop above 6 feet.
Yeah.
And then we raised it and raised it and raised it. But, with my own kid, it's still dribbling the ball and being able to shoot the basketball. If you ask me, this is my 31st year teaching and coaching at the high school level. If you ask me what's the biggest difference between when you first started coaching and now, it's skill. I mean, kids cannot shoot the ball today like kids could shoot the ball 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 or 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, there seems to be, when you watch the game, whether it's at the WNBA, NBA, collegiate level, there seems to be all these highlights of all of this skill. Steph Curry, obviously, I think changed the game as much as any player over the last 25 years, because he brought, the little player back into the game, kind of changed the focus of the post play because of the 3-point shot. And you have so many kids shooting the 3-point shot. But if you ask me what's missing from the game, it's the mid-range game.
Yeah.
It's, can you dribble 2 times purposefully and pull up from 12 to 15 feet and knock down a shot consistently? And analytics is going to say the whole game is shooting free throws, threes, and layups. I'm going to talk about the girls' game because I've spent the majority of my coaching career as both a head girls coach and an assistant girls coach.
Mm-hmm.
When I watch girls basketball, even today, I just watched a Division I girls game about 3 weeks ago. 2 very good programs, incredibly well coached. And I'm not going to say the names because it'll come across as I'm being negative, and I'm not trying to be negative. The team that won the game missed 12 shots in a row in the fourth quarter. And it was a close game. I think the final score was within 3 or 4 points. The winning team missed 12 shots in a row, Rich, and almost every one of those shots was a missed layup.
Yeah.
I think the mid-range game is absolutely essential. I think the ability to play off 2 feet is absolutely essential.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest thing I teach as an offensive coach now. I probably adopted this philosophy about 5 years ago when I really started watching Villanova men's team play. And the thing that fascinated me most about Villanova's team play on the men's side is their guards played below the rim. They have a lot of 5'11" to 6'1" guards who don't dunk the basketball, who aren't high flyers.
Mm-hmm.
and everything they do is off 2 feet. They know how to pivot. They know how to get in the lane and kick the ball out. They know how to keep their dribble alive and kind of post up their man and ball fake. So I think the ability to play in the mid-range, I think the ability to play off 2 feet. And then the other thing is, I mean, I've watched easily 100 high school games this year, either in person or on film, on the boys and girls side. And, you know, if there's been one blessing about COVID, it's all these schools live streaming games.
Yeah.
Well, I watched a game today on live stream for free that in the past I couldn't do.
Yeah.
But I don't see a lot of people catching and making jump shots. Right? I mean, when I was the head girls coach at Wadsworth from 2000 and 2005, okay? And we won 100 games in those 5 years. And it wasn't because of me. It was because we had unbelievably well-trained and skilled players. And we could shoot the heck out of the basketball. Yeah. And, you know, 8 out of 10 of those shots wasn't off the dribble. It was just, I'm going to catch a pass and I'm going to make a shot off that catch. And today I watch basketball on the boys and girls side. Man, I see a lot of shooters, but I don't see a lot of makers.
Yeah.
And, you know, the best high school coach I've ever been around is Dave Schleybaugh. Okay, boys, girls, best coach I've ever been around.
Who I was sitting watching enough to watch a game with in person last night.
Oh, were you really? Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because I've gotten to watch games with him. And one time we were watching a game or whatever, and he made the comment, because I was scouting the game with him, and he made the comment, you know, there's a lot of shooters, but there's not a lot of makers. And, you know, I laughed, and it's kind of a funny way of saying it, but that's the biggest thing I see in the change of the game. There are a ton of kids shooting a lot of contested shots. Yeah. Where we should have kids making uncontested shots. Yeah. But that takes discipline and patience.
One of my players who I just watched recently, who's going to college to play scholarship basketball, she had 2 of her 3-pointers blocked. And after the game, I said, 3-pointers don't get blocked at the college level, because kids realize they can't be shooting a contested shot like that. Right. You got to be able to, like you said, get to the mid-range, you know, put the shot fake or the head fake up and put a dribble down and get an open shot. You know, so hopefully that is going to stand out there, because, like you said, the contested jump shot is low percentage. So
exactly.
I completely agree. And in our practices, we do a lot of mid-range stuff, because I can't stand, especially when they're not going in, like people just keep shooting a 3. I think last night there was an NBA team who shot 4 for 45 or something.
Yeah, the Celtics were 4 of 45 against the Clippers. And again, it goes back to this whole, you know, the analytic part of the game. And I think, you know, the box score means a lot, and analytics do mean something, but it's also the eye test. Yeah. It's also experience. It's also feel. There's a nuance. That's why I love basketball so much. I mean, when 5 players are playing together and moving the basketball on offense, and everybody's touching it and the ball has life, or defensively when everybody's communicating, that it's art. And it's that whole idea of five becoming one, and each of those 5 puzzle pieces fitting perfectly. And I mean, I'm not a mathematician. I'm an English teacher. But if you miss your first 10 threes, unless your name's Steph Curry, you better either be passing the ball, you better be getting to the free throw line. You know, to me, it's just, it's kind of made the game too predictable. And I like the unpredictable nature of the game.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I mean, I think you know me. You know, a lot of people don't like how I coach. A lot of people, it's just, I don't like being a carbon copy. And to
Yeah.
me, this whole idea of and I love shooting the basketball, but you know, I don't want to coach a team that goes 4 for 45 from the field.
I feel that. I feel that. Here's I want to ask about a specific player, and this is a player that both of us know very well. I would say definitely kind of unconventional. Rachel Chesar. You know, I heard the criticisms when she was being recruited that, you know, she was a 3-point shooter, but the shot was still a little funky. Could be considered one-dimensional. You know, but she's not super athletic. She's not huge, you know, but she still, particularly when she was with you, produced every single night. You know, so what about kids that aren't like your prototypical tall guard who's super fast and jumps through the roof? And, you know, what are some of those secondary skills or attributes a kid like Rachel Chesar could, you know, could use to carry themselves to the next level?
Yeah. Well, when you say Rachel Chesar, the first thing that comes to my mind are she has two of the best parents I've ever worked with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, two of the most amazing, hardworking, humble, supportive parents. And you talk about two parents who absolutely got it.
Yeah.
You know, just amazing. So she came from the right family, first of all. You know, her dad was a fantastic college athlete. Her grandfather was a coach. So there was that family understanding of what it takes to be a good athlete.
Yeah.
And as far as Rachel is concerned, you know, when she came to us at Holman as a freshman, you know, she probably weighed 100 pounds. and she had one skill that really stood out to us on the court, and that was her ability to shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what else stood out was she constantly encouraged her teammates. I mean, and I don't think I've probably only coached 10 kids out of 31 years who never had a bad day.
Yeah.
I never saw Rachel have a bad day.
Yeah.
Literally, like her attitude, and it didn't matter whether she was making shots or not. And you know, that's one thing that I really, really think kids have to understand. Is a player's approach to the game cannot be determined on whether or not the ball's going in the hole.
Yeah.
You know, my mantra as a coach has always been defend, rebound, run. It's never been make shots.
Yeah.
You know, it's defend, rebound, and run. But Rachel, her freshman year, we realized, okay, this is a encourager who is a really, really, really coachable kid who can really shoot the three. So as a freshman, you know, we stuck her in the left corner and we got her jump shots. And my rule for her was when you catch the ball, you're going to shoot it. If you have a sliver, you're going to shoot it. If not, you're going to give it up.
Yeah.
And her first kind of year and a half, that's who she was. And every day for about a year and a half, and she played on very good teams, I would tell her what a bad defensive player she was.
Mm-hmm.
And she would look right at me and say, "You're right, coach, but I'm going to get better." And she developed into an unbelievable leader, a good defensive player, one of the toughest kids we've ever coached. And she became the all-time leading scorer in program history.
Yeah.
She made more threes than anybody in program history. I mean, she became just an unbelievable player, an unbelievable ambassador, one of the best captains we've ever coached. And she got a full scholarship to one of the great schools in the Midwest in Mercyhurst. So
Yeah.
She's just one of my favorite all-time people.
I second that. I mean, literally everything you said is spot on. When she graduated, Ed sent me a text with a picture of her and thanked me. And I'm sure you got the same text.
I did. Yeah. But that's just Ed. Yeah.
That meant the world to me. A little text out of the blue. He didn't have to do that. That just meant so much to me. I know it meant a lot to you. And
can I say something about
absolutely.
that? One of the things that I really failed as a coach for the longest time is, and this is what I have to watch with my own children, is focusing on what kids can't do as opposed to what they can do.
Yeah.
Because, and then it finally hit me, and I'm not, and it speaks to my, failability, probably my insecurity as a person or whatever. But it finally hit me that, I never coached a kid that's like going to UConn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As a girls coach, I coached multiple Division I players. I was very blessed to have great players, but I never had a first team All-American. I never had a first team All-State kid. I never I never coached a kid who could do like all 5 things on the floor perfectly.
Yeah.
And I finally realized, like with Rachel, she was as good a leader as I've ever coached. She was as good an encourager as I've ever coached, and she was as good a shooter as I could ever coach. So why would I focus on the things that she can't do?
Yeah.
And as soon as I came to that, I started celebrating more for what kids can do and what gifts they can bring to the table. And then it's my job as a coach to highlight those things. And I'm very proud of like my assistant coaches that I coach with at Hoban, because we brought those things out of Rachel, but Rachel allowed us to do that.
Yeah. The one thing I could sit here and tell stories about Rachel all night long, and I know you have more. You spent every day with her for 4 years in basketball season. When we played in DC at the Nike Nationals, the year that we won it, we played 3 games in one day in the bracket play, and she was, I would guess, 1 for 15 from 3 that day.
Yep.
And I've probably told you this. You probably knew this, but do you know the one shot that she made out of all 15 threes that day?
Won it.
The 15th one.
Yep.
And it was the game winner in the championship game with 3 seconds left. That just illustrates Rachel.
And when you're telling me that story, that gives me chills. It literally does, because, to me, that's why I love coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's the job of a coach to instill that courage into a kid, to not because her gift is her shooting.
Yeah.
Now there's some kids that we coach that their gift is rebounding.
Yeah.
Their gift is defending. Their gift is, setting good screens. But when you coach a shooter, you have to instill that courage into that kid. But they have to have it.
Yeah.
I guess I misspoke, because I never instilled courage into a kid like Rachel. She had it. I just, and I know you did the same thing. We just allowed her to fail.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do with a great shooter. But, Rachel just had the courage to make that 15th shot, and so few kids have that.
One more true story before we move on. This just kind of illustrates how, for lack of better words, bad recruiting can be. I once had a college coach tell me that they weren't interested in Rachel because she jumped when she shot free throws.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember off the top of your head what her free throw percentage was?
Well, it was over. I think it was like 91 or 92%.
Yeah, like it boggles my mind that a kid that makes 90% of her free throws, someone's not interested just because it's a little unconventional and she jumps at the free throw line.
You know, you brought something up, and this is my biggest pet peeve with college coaches. At the Division III, NAI, Division II, and Division I level, men and women. Every college coach always complains to me about the same thing when we're in conversation.
Yeah.
We don't shoot the ball well enough. Every college coach says that to me.
Yeah.
Well, recruit more people who can shoot the ball. I don't understand that.
Sounds kind of simple, doesn't it?
Yeah, because ultimately the game comes down to making shots.
Yeah.
We play defense, we rebound the ball, we pass the ball, we do all these other things to put ourselves in position to shoot good uncontested shots and make them.
Yeah.
But so many coaches don't want to recruit shooters, and then they complain about we don't shoot the ball well enough. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Absolutely. And that's a topic I can go on forever too. We both of us have been very active with college recruiters for the last many years. So now let's go back to something you mentioned at the very beginning, and it's actually something that, again, we've talked about, or I've talked about with other coaches in the past. You're self-admittedly very tough on kids, and a lot of players and parents, probably mostly parents, if I had to guess, it's hard to handle sometimes. From your experience, have you ever thought of, maybe I should back off a little bit, maybe I should change my style? Or my guess is probably no. But in your head, as you see, I know there was a couple years of Hoban where things got a little sticky and there were some parents causing some problems. And did you ever think, well, maybe I should change who I am, or modify it at all? Or is it always been, this is who I am, like, leave it, take it or leave it, I'm not changing?
Well, first of all, I've never been perfect as a coach. Made a lot of mistakes. I think I've evolved as a coach. I think I've always done my very, very best, but I think we're always learning and evolving. And when I say I'm tough on kids, I think I'm tough on my own children. My style can be abrasive as a coach.
Yeah.
I'm not nearly as abrasive as I used to be. But
it used to be like Hoban years or Wadsworth years, or
when I was young. I'm an old man now. I'm soft. Let me just say this: when I shouldn't even say I don't think I'm really tough on kids. I just have non-negotiables, and I'm not gonna bend.
Yeah.
If you don't play hard, you and I aren't going to see things in the same way. If you don't put the team first, we're not going to see things in the same way.
Yeah.
If you're disrespectful towards your opponent, we're not going to see things in the same way. I just think that practice has got to be really, really challenging. I think if practice is demanding and challenging, the games become fun.
Yeah.
And I just have always had a standard that I knew that I was going to demand of the kids I coach. I don't believe in becoming personal with kids. I don't believe in using inappropriate language. I don't believe in berating officials. I've coached 31 years. I have not gotten a technical foul since I was a 7th grade coach 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So So I don't know. In answer to your question, yeah, I'm not the same coach I am. I'm not the same coach today I was 3 years ago. Am I impatient? I'm very impatient. And to be honest with you, I don't know successful people in many fields who have a lot of patience for nonsense
Yeah.
and mediocrity. And I'm going to continue to be impatient as a teacher and as a coach, but I'm going to continue to love the kids I coach unconditionally. And when I mess up, I'm going to tell the kids, hey, I messed up. I'm sorry. I love you. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I'm going to answer it.
Hey, that works. Now, again, you've had success at along the way at Hoban and Wadsworth. Like you said, you had 100 wins in 5 years at Wadsworth, and even at Hoban, you guys were successful year in, year out. What are some of the program staples that your programs have always stood on? And it probably will go back a little to the non-negotiables, but less of an individual stance than this is our team focus. This is what our team is built on. And
Sure. Yeah, I've always used 6 different words from just a program. We always talk about character, toughness, and passion. As a teacher, I teach through character, virtue, and that's what I try to do as a coach. For me, my life is based upon priorities. My relationship with God is first. My marriage is second. My relationship with my children is third. So it's my faith and my family, and then it's teaching and coaching. I'm not a guy who has a lot of hobbies. So in the program, it's about priorities. So it's about character and using the game to prepare ourselves for the next 40 years. And then the second thing with me is passion. I mean, you gotta love what you do. I mean, you have to have energy and enthusiasm, and you gotta have fun when other people that you're around have success. And those are the kind of kids I've always loved to coach. One of the kids that immediately comes to my mind, is Hannah Schill.
yeah,
I don't know if I've ever coached a kid who enjoys other people's successes as much as Hannah Schill did when I coached her at Hoban.
yeah,
Okay. So it's passion, it's character, and then toughness. And that's just not physical toughness. It's mental toughness. It's emotional toughness and maturity. So those are the 3 pillars of any program I've been a part of: character, passion, and toughness. And then when it comes to the basketball part, is defend, rebound, and run. I always, as a coach, wanted the other team. I wanted our identity to be, we're going to play harder than any team we play. And if we're not talented enough or not skilled enough, so the scoreboard doesn't reward us, I'm all right if that other team walks out of the gym saying, man, that team plays really, really hard.
yeah. Now, it's been 3 years since you've been the head coach at Hoban. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Is there anything that you've kind of, since you've taken a step back, one of those years you weren't coaching at all in the last 2 years, now you're an assistant coach again. Is there anything that you've kind of, looking back on your coaching years, something that maybe you want to change or you've learned about yourself? And because I know you're going to be a head coach again. I'm calling it. I don't know where. I don't know if it's going to be girls or boys, but it's going to happen. Is there anything that you kind of in the last 3 years have been able to reflect upon and say, okay, next time I'm a head coach, I might do this a little different?
I guess the answer to the question is yeah. I mean, the greatest blessing of being a head coach is the relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I met you through basketball,
Yeah.
and I value our friendship forever. But it's the players and the families. And certainly, you know, I look back and say, man, I wish I could have done a better job with this kid. You know, I wish I could have served a particular family better. You know, as a coach, you remember every loss you've ever had. You know, and that's a difficult thing. But just I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I would just say this, Rich. You know, when I was a head coach, um, I really enjoyed the responsibility of leading a program.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved everything about being a head coach except for disappointing other people.
Mm-hmm.
And this sounds selfish on my part, but as an assistant coach, I, I mean, you don't get that overwhelming feeling of disappointing other people when things don't go well.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I don't know if I'll ever be a head coach again, but yeah, there's probably too many things for me to say out loud, you know, in a public forum that I'd like to do differently or better. But that's the reason I like being a teacher and a coach, because I like to learn. And I know from, you know, my walk with God, I'm never going to arrive. I just have to keep climbing the stairs on a daily basis and trying to get better. And for me, getting better is just being a better role model, being a better reflection of Christ, and being a better teacher and coach.
Absolutely. It looks like our player of the week is missing currently. So I'm going to slip in one more question, and I'm going to give you the opportunity. Is there anything that, you know, not off of a question, just some advice that you would give any of these girls players, any boys players if they watch, to kind of lead them through their high school years and you know, just a game of basketball?
Well, first of all, you know, be grateful to the people in your life who are letting you play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's your mom or dad, your grandma or grandpa, um, because you know, high school basketball is irreplaceable for a kid. Whether a kid goes on to play college basketball or not, you know, I'm an assistant at Wadsworth right now in the boys program, and one of our mantras in our program is "Be where your feet are." In other words, don't get caught up in what's happened, and don't worry about the future. You know, I know a lot of kids that are in your AAU program and a lot of high school kids, they're always thinking about college basketball. And I think the best thing is just to be present
Yeah.
and to enjoy the time and to develop relationships with your teammates. My best friends are still guys I played high school basketball with. And that goes back a long, long time. And
Yeah.
I treasure the memories that we had. But I think for players specifically, is you have to have a next play mentality. And you've got to be willing to do the difficult things to get better. You know, are you shooting 100 free throws a day and making at least 85? Are you ball handling for at least 20 to 25 minutes 4 or 5 times a week? Are you lifting weights consistently throughout the year? And the other thing I just got to say is, you know, you cannot play basketball 12 months out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You
Yeah.
have to give your body and your mind time to rest and recuperate. I know my son plays high school baseball, and sometimes he fights me on that. But he needs another competitive avenue.
Yeah.
And he needs other teammates, and he needs other coaches. He needs other ways to grow and develop. So I think more than anything, value relationships, be where your feet are. Don't worry about the past or the present, and be very, very grateful to the people who are allowing you to play basketball, because it's just an awesome, awesome experience.
Absolutely. Scott, I appreciate your time. I know it's during the holidays, and I took up almost an hour of your time. So thanks for coming on with us. This won't be the last time. I can promise you that. It will. I'll be calling on you from time to time because you have so much knowledge and wisdom, and you present it so effectively, much better than I could, even if I had that type of knowledge. So I want to definitely thank you. And you're not only my friend. I mean, you've been a mentor to me, someone I look to for advice quite often. So genuinely, I want to thank you for that.
Rich, I just got to say this, and I mean this from my heart. The thing I've always appreciated about you and admired about you is that you're a giver. I always talk to my students and players about there's two types of people. There are people who give and people who take. And I know what you've done for so many of the players I've coached and how many opportunities beyond high school you've set them up for and helped out families. And I just love that about you. I admire it about you. And I'm honored to talk to you. And you can always count on me, and keep giving, because that's what makes the game special, is when you get to be around people who love to give.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And when Solomon goes to Duke, hook me up. Hey, have a good night. Tell that boy of yours I said hi, and I'll be keeping an eye out for him.
All right. Sounds great, Rich. Take care, brother.
Have a good night, Scott. Just a tremendous guy. I hope everybody listens to this show tonight. Hopefully there's just so much. I've known Scott for years. We've talked extensively about several things, and I still learned some stuff tonight that are going to stick with me. I'll probably even myself listen back to this episode so that I don't miss anything. But now we are going to move to our player of the week. This week's player of the week was a game that I actually got to sit front court, whatever, center court, best seat in the house, whatever you want to call it, to witness this. And this week it is Gwen Stair, the point guard from Newark High School, in their win against Glen Oak last week. She had 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists, and was also 3 for 6 from the three-point line. So I'm going to welcome Gwen to the show and her high school coach, Jack Eifert. Gwen, I didn't mean to put a guilt trip on you when I said you were missing for a second. As soon as I said that, you popped right back up.
Yeah, that's okay.
Jack, thanks for coming on. Thanks for getting Gwen on. This is the third time you've been on this show out of 32 episodes. So you might be in the lead for the most appearances on the Hofcast. So
wow, that's a big accolade. I like it. See if we can keep up the pace.
So we're going to have to get you on in the next 8 or 9 episodes again.
All right.
Gwen, first of all, congratulations on a great game. Again, that was a game that I was very fortunate to be able to sit very close to the court and watch. I watched the whole thing. It was tremendous. First of all, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. I mean, that is playing. I don't know how long the Glen Oak court is. I'm going to guess it's regulation, but that's 94 feet of basketball. Is that something that you really take pride on? Like, I'm not just going to be a scorer. I'm not just going to be a distributor. I mean, I want to be able to do everything for my team.
Yeah, I definitely am thinking about that pretty much every game. I'm always just trying to work hard and just really try to lead, like, for the team. Not if it's even, like, vocally, but by example has been something I really like to do. And just by trying to get shots for other people, maybe even if mine aren't falling, or just working really hard on defense, and even just encouraging that onto offense as well. and just staying aggressive myself and even just for the team. Like I really like to facilitate for everybody. And then even just like getting rebounds and stuff has always been like just trying to work hard or just try to do what I can just to help out at any time for like the team and everybody. So
And I'm going to ask Jack this question in a second, but I'm going to start with you. During that game, I think Glen Oak threw a curveball at you, and I'm assuming that you were expecting to be guarded by Breezy Williams, and they threw Kylie Derlin at you, who's a active, long 6-foot defender. What was that like in your head? You obviously had to adjust to that on the fly. What was the emphasis there when you were expecting one thing and got something completely opposite?
yeah, I mean, I was just trying to adjust to it because I knew obviously she was longer and obviously taller as well too. So I had to just pay attention to that and be aware too. And even if I thought maybe my matchup wasn't good, I'd still be trying to attack middle or just even try to get shots for other people or maybe look to pass to other people where they could get good shots on offense as well.
And for you, Jack, you threw the same curveball at them. I was as a neutral observer, I was blown away. Both of you had the same game plan as far as how to guard the point guard. What was it like? What did you have to go through? Was it easier for you to adjust because you had the same game plan, or did you guys have to kind of scrap some things early in that game?
I just think with Gwen, it's just she's comfortable no matter who's guarding her. Like she has this level of comfort she brings, right? And I think that when we saw this longer defender, okay, they're giving something up there. Now they have a smaller defender guarding Maddie. And also with our drive in space offense, typically whoever is initially guarding you is not going to be because they get stuck in help. There's rotations and everything like that. So similar with our matchups where there were times where Gwen was guarding Breezy and there were times where someone else was. It just depended on matchups and depended on things like that. And that's one thing I love about our team this year is I think that they're flexible defensively with whoever they end up having to guard, just knowing scouting report, knowing what each person brings to the table. And then conversely on offense, just knowing that we have offense that just sort of makes the ball move and makes it hard for one singular matchup. Like we weren't going to go ISO on Breezy or ISO on her either way, so it didn't really matter a whole lot in that sense, but it was definitely a surprise.
Now, Gwen, there's some silly publication going around that's got you listed as a shooting guard. Have you ever been anything besides a point guard in your whole career?
I don't know. I've pretty much played a point a lot.
You were born to play the one. There's no doubt about it. I wanted to ask you, obviously, you had a huge part on last year's very successful state runner-up team. But there was certainly no doubt that this year you'd have to pick up some more of the scoring role. Is that something that you were comfortable with immediately, or is it something that's kind of grown on you? In the Glen Oak game, 17 points. They defended Maddie really well, so they kind of took your leading scorer out of the game. Is that something that maybe you haven't had to do, but it still comes natural to you, or is it kind of a learning process for you?
I feel like it'd probably be a little bit of both because I feel like the Glen Oak game was probably one of my better games of this season so far and where I felt like I was starting to get a little bit more comfortable just attacking and just being more confident in myself as a player. And I feel like basketball is a lot about like confidence in yourself as well with being aggressive and just attacking, even scoring even. So I think it's also a learning process for me to just learn to know that I do need to step up more than what I did last year with scoring and just for the team as well. And finding more ways to score on offense when maybe other people aren't or when I feel like I'm getting more pressured. I just need to find ways to be more aggressive for myself to get buckets and just for our team as well. So it's been a little bit of both where I just have to learn through that, but also pick up where I have been in the past where it can just come naturally because I've been playing for a long time.
If I remember correctly, in the Glen Oak game, you started the game with a 3, and then you got a couple assists. Your teammates started hot also. How does that make you feel? I mean, I know it doesn't matter to you if you make the first one or someone else makes the first one, but how much does that help not only for you but your team that you step up, hit that first big shot? but then you're also very willing to make sure that they get their open shots.
Yeah, I think it just brings a whole bunch more energy, even just to our team, and helps us offensively and even defensively as well. Just stepping in and just other people hitting shots and me trying to get other people's shots, it just makes me excited too. And I feel like that helps flow with energy and just get us ready to go. So I think it's good and it's exciting too.
I
It's
gotta
always
be
fun.
honest with you. Every time I've ever seen you, and even right now, you come off as a very kind lady. I've never seen you get angry. You always keep your emotions in check. Is there a side of Gwen Stair that people may not want to find out about, or is it always are you capable of knocking someone out if you have to, or is it all what we see is what we get?
Yeah, I mean, I try pretty hard to keep my emotions in check, but there's definitely times where I feel like I'm getting out of control and need to just recover a little bit. But majority of the time, I just try to stay like in control of how things are going. But I would say I definitely get frustrated more times than maybe people can see.
So, Coach, is there ever going to be a technical in Gwen's future? Like, do you?
It would be really surprising if there was. I mean, I've coached her since like on and off since she was in 5th grade. I remember her being a 5th grader, and I'm talking to her dad who's coaching practice, and he's running practice, but in the sense he's basically having Gwen take everyone through warm-ups and take them through everything. And I mean, she's always been just that cerebral person on the court. And I think that even when her emotions are getting what she feels like out of check, I just think she's always able to sort of stomach whatever it is and just figure out what she needs to do at that time. And she's been that kid since she was young. And so I think that's part of the reason why you got games like last year against Kaufman and Hoban where she steps up and makes those plays, is because to her, it's just she's just thinking about what basketball play needs to be made. And the emotion side of her just doesn't overtake everything else. But I definitely think there's a competitive side to her that she quietly shows, but is there.
Yeah. Now, from your perspective, how big was that win for you guys? I mean, you didn't just go in there and beat Glen Oak. I mean, you quite honestly, you stifled them. I mean, I don't remember what the final was, but nothing came easy for them. And you guys were hitting open shots. You were getting up and down the floor. I mean, it wasn't a perfect game, and there were some aspects that probably you probably wanted to see go a little bit better. But again, you came all the way to their home court. You had school that day, but you came and you kicked some rear end. What did that win mean for you guys? And not only just the win, but the style of the win.
Well, I just think we talk about different moments in our schedule and how they're just different tests for us. And I think that going on the road, driving almost 2 hours, having school, them having been there all day long, basically waiting for this game to happen, and just that their program being a storied program. Like that was one of the things we talked about was, listen, you guys, you were in the state final last year. Year before, you made it to the final. For every other year, you've been in some sort of regional semifinal. Like, you think you're pretty good. Well, Glen Oak has pretty much done the same exact thing, where last year they're in the regional final. The year before, we were supposed to play them in the state semifinal. So they have the same feeling, except they're coming in undefeated. We're coming in with 3 losses, one of which was recently to Reynoldsburg, that we were trying to get over and trying to figure out what we can learn from it. And we just thought this was a good chance to play a really good team that we know we're not going to see, at least early on in the postseason. And we can sort of try to make some sort of statement, or at least just play a team that's going to really, really compete hard with us. And we did.
I'm very curious. Have you heard from JR about this game? Because if there's one thing I remember about JR is he had a hard time getting over the last time you guys came up here to play Glen Oak, and you lost to him at Stowe. Did you hear from JR? Did he give you a big pat on the back or what?
No, not a whole lot. I talked to him beforehand. He's an administrator in the district, so as a teacher, I've talked to him about different things, and we brought up that game, and he asked how I think they're going to do, and I told him, I'm like, I mean, it's a long drive, and I mean, we're a team that's figuring out our new roles, so it's a good opportunity for him. But he was curious about it. You could definitely tell there was some sort of itch there, but he couldn't quite do anything more than that. But I think he was obviously excited about the turnout because I was there when we came up there last time. I think we played at, I want to say Stowe High School.
Yeah, it was at Stowe.
Against Glen Oak. And I mean, we showed up with a squad. I mean, we had Morgan Sharps, we had Katie Shoemate, Emma Shoemate was making one of her debuts starting, and they absolutely ran us out of the gym. So we definitely mentioned that game happening at some point during the week, but it was really crazy.
Gwen, as the leader of the team, and I'm sure you're not the only leader, but as the point guard, you have no choice. How do you kind of keep the kids focused at halftime, knowing that everything's going so well? What I think it was 8 threes in the first half. I mean, you guys were just rolling. How do you keep the kids focused? Like, this is a 4-quarter game. We can't let up. We need to keep our foot on the pedal.
Yeah, sometimes even at halftime, we'll all kind of just talk about what we're thinking or how we're feeling about how the game's going. Sometimes we'll talk a lot, or sometimes it'll be quiet, but we were pretty excited at this halftime of the Glen Oak game. And we were just talking about how we need to keep it rolling and we need to not let down at all, because obviously they could still get back in it, and we just need to keep doing what we're doing and keep playing hard if we want to finish out the game strong.
Now, again, complete game on your part, 17 points, 3 from beyond the arc, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Where can you improve on your game from there? I mean, you're throwing up Russell Westbrook type stat lines. What's something that you really want to kind of focus on to keep improving on?
Yeah, I want to work on being more consistent with just playing more games like that, where I can be more aggressive, and I choose to look to be more aggressive, offensively and even defensively too. Just attacking and continuing to find shots for other people, and making sure I'm working hard and crashing the boards as well, just to help get our team extra shots, or even just to get us a run out on offense from defense. So I want to work on trying to be more consistent and growing to be more confident, like I was saying before, and just growing throughout the season and trying to get better from where I've been at or that game as well.
Now, you probably don't know this. This is the first time we've ever spoke. But I've been a big fan of yours ever since you were a freshman. I know you went through some injuries, some adversity. Are we going to have an opportunity to see you play? I know you're a superstar in every season of the school year as a runner as well. Are we going to get it? Am I going to get a chance selfishly to see you play at the next level, or it may be another sport? What's the chances I'm going to get to see you play at college level?
Very slim unless I decide to transfer. But yeah, I will be running track and cross country in college.
Hey, I couldn't imagine that, because I haven't ran a mile in the last 8 years of my life combined. So I mean, that's exciting. I'm just going to have to make sure I take advantage of the next year and a half then, right?
Yep.
Hey, and listen, yesterday we come in, we get a lift in, we get a practice in. Gwen and another one of our players, Sophie, they go to an indoor track meet, and they go and compete in there. No training, nothing, just walk in, decide to compete in the meet. Gwen gets first place in the 800.
Wow. I'll be honest with you, I forget how long that is. How far is 800?
Half mile. So it's normally 2 laps, but it was
2 laps
track, so it was 4. So
okay, so
the time was a little faster than us.
I mean, that's anybody who can do that and do it very well is a much better athlete than me. So I give you a ton of credit. But hey, guys, I appreciate you coming on. Make sure you pass your information. I got a $10 Amazon gift card for you. So make sure I'll get that from Jack, send that over to him so I can send that to you. But again, congratulations on a great game. I was really excited that I got to be there for that. I'm sure I'll see you guys sometime over the rest of the year. And congratulations, and keep it up.
Awesome. Thank you, Rich.
I appreciate it.
Right. Have a good night and a great New Year.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Bye. All right. What a great episode. What a great kid Gwen is. Again, that's the first time I've ever spoke to her, but I've been watching her for several years. Always very level-headed, seems like a great kid. Obviously, that is accurate. Jack's doing a great job down there with those young ladies. So good luck to them the rest of the year. Again, thanks for everybody for listening. We had a great show tonight. Mitch Brown said it was a great interview. Thanks for listening, Mitch. Appreciate it. Guys, again, thanks. It's the end of the year. Last episode of the year. We'll be back next week. And, we'll be taking a couple of days off from basketball in general. Hope everybody likes my Britney Spears shirt. Nobody made fun of me today. But, again, Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for listening. Do something nice for somebody. Be kind to people. And please,